What if you could live a completely different life in 2026? This isn't about the same old tired goal setting or vision boarding or resolution setting, even. This is about creating a whole new identity for yourself. We all have certain goals that we're working to reach, but working towards a goal on sheer willpower alone sets you up for failure. When your goals are tied to a new identity that you're then embodying, you have a much greater chance of reaching your goals in a way that feels much more aligned. This isn't about fixing yourself. There's nothing inherently wrong with you. This is about realizing that you have the power to transform your life from the inside out. You get to decide what costume you want to wear. And then once you're in that costume, it's about becoming the character that you're dressed as. This is a process that I've personally lived through multiple times in my life. If you're new here, I'm Tanuja. I'm a coach. I help young professional women get a handle on life. You know, the basics: career, money, direction. We get those all handled so that we can move on to the good stuff, the inner work that truly makes you feel aligned and genuinely happy. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a simple 5-step process for an identity shift. 1, decide who you want to be. 2, explore that version of yourself. 3, release the old identity. 4, embody the new identity. And 5, let that new identity become your new normal. So at this point, you might be wondering, why do I have to create a whole new identity? Why can't I just make new habits like I do every year? Well, I'll ask you, have your new habits actually helped you in any way? And for some people, the answer is yes. And probably it is because they stepped into a new identity. They just didn't do it intentionally. A lot of times, this is what happens. Some people can work from the outside in. I'm a person who works better from the inside out. So if I start a new habit just on the surface, for me, it typically doesn't stick. And this isn't true for everyone, like I said, but for most people, it is true. You do need to shift that identity first before being able to make the habit stick, because it's coming from a totally different place. Why don't habits stick? Well, it's because of this thing called willpower, which I'm sure you've heard of. If anybody has ever been on a diet, you have heard about willpower. So willpower is actually a very finite resource. It's not something that comes in unlimited amounts. So the way you'll notice this is, in the morning, if you go to work and you're avoiding the donuts and you're avoiding the Oreos and all the snacks that they have around the office, by the time you get home at night, your brain is so tired from doing all of that avoiding and thinking and negotiating about avoiding these things that you kind of give up when you get to dinner time and you're like, I really want to have that dessert, because you're exhausted. Your brain just doesn't have the bandwidth anymore to deal with another test of strength. So willpower does burn out over time. For some people, it happens in a day. For some people, it happens in a week or a few days. And for some people, it happens in a month. But the bottom line is, a lot of resolutions and goals that we see set in January kind of disappear by February. People stop going to the gym. They stop drinking their 100 ounces of water a day or whatever it is, right? Whatever goals they've made, they stop doing that. And this is because they're doing it through sheer willpower. Habit creation on the outside only. They're not working on creating that identity on the inside. This is why that change feels exhausting and that it falls away by February. So we're going to try to do something different here. Most people try to change what they do. We're going to change who you believe you are. Let's just take a practical example here. We started off on this topic of talking about donuts and Oreos. So let's say that this example has to do with health. You want to start a habit of running 3 times a week. So instead of stating your goal that way, I want to start a habit by running 3 times a week. Instead, you're going to become a runner. I am a runner. I am a person who runs. The words that come after the words I am are the ones that create your identity. And when your identity changes, your decisions stop feeling like a negotiation. So let's dig into the steps. Step 1, decide who you want to be. This is personally a really tough step for me because there's so many people I want to be. There's so many goals I have. But remember, this is not goal setting. It's a filtration system. It's about figuring out who you want to be. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll make a list of all my goals and I will figure out who am I as a result of achieving these goals. So if my goal is I want want to read 10 new books every year. And my goal is I want to be a runner. We're going to transform those first into I am a runner and I am a reader. But what do these two identities have in common? Well, maybe a common attribute of both of these is that they wake up early in the morning, or that they both have a warm beverage in the morning, right? They both plan for their next day the night before. There are going to be certain attributes that are in common for each of these identities. And so that's what I try to do when I have a fear of choosing, which can really come up during this step one. Make a list of all your goals and figure out what all these identities, after you actually achieve the goal, who these people are, what do they all have in common? And then it doesn't always feel like, you're having to choose. Another fear that comes up at this point is a fear of closing doors. Oh, if I become a runner, then I will have to sometimes miss social events. Yes, that is true. You will, or you'll show up late, or you'll adjust your running schedule. It doesn't mean you have to give up all the things that you have and love in your life. It's not like you're going to stop seeing your friends or anything like that. But that one birthday party that happens on the Tuesday that you normally run in the evening, maybe you switch your running schedule to the morning. Maybe you go a little bit later to the birthday party that Tuesday night. Once you just make this decision, I am a runner, your brain will find a way to make all the parts work. It's a shift in priorities because you've changed who you decided to be. Another fear that's really common at this point is a fear of failure. A lot of times we don't even want to choose a new identity because we're scared that we're not going to become the new person. We don't have the capability of being the new person, or we're scared that we're not deserving of being that new person. And that might feel foreign right now. That might be like, oh, what are you talking about? Of course I want to succeed. I don't have a fear of being this awesome new personality. When you dig deeper and you take all these other, like fear of choosing, fear of closing doors, and fear of, consequences, you might actually have a fear of like, hey, I'm not deserving of this personality. I actually do love being lazy. I love watching Netflix. I don't want to give any of that up. It's not necessarily about giving anything up. It's more about reframing how you do these things and with what intention you do these things. And the fear of failure piece, yes, you might not get to exactly where you want to be. Maybe you don't exactly run 3 times a week every single week in perpetuity. Maybe you make it to 2 times a week, but that was an improvement already. So it's not failure exactly. We need to reframe that. It's more about information. You're just getting feedback. And that feedback is for you to learn more about yourself and more about who you want to be. Deciding who you want to be feels consequential because it is. It's important to embrace that feeling of consequences and lean into your new identity. Step 2, you're going to explore the new version of yourself. So what does that mean? For me, it means writing it all down. The typical step I give here is visualization. Close your eyes, sit in silence, or sit with some light, relaxing music, or even a guided visualization, and feel into who this person is. Once you've already achieved this goal of becoming a runner 3 times a week, what does your life feel like? Are you happier? Are your calves more defined? Do you have a 6-pack? How do you look? How do you feel? How do you smell? Make it a very sensory experience. Imagine yourself doing this action. I am a runner. When you're running, how do you feel? Like, are you sweating, breathing hard? Is your hair up in a bun? Is it tied back in a low ponytail? What kind of clothes are you wearing? What does your running persona look like? Are you dripping sweat? Are you kind of just someone who sweats in your hair? Are you sweating all over your body? How do you smell when you come back from a run? It's kind of weird. It kind of sounds like overly detailed, but this is what's necessary. You need to make it a full body sensory experience. How do you operate in the world? How do you make decisions? Envision yourself getting invited to a birthday party on one of your running days. What decision do you make there? How do you make it work? Take yourself through all those scenarios. That's what building this new version of yourself looks like. You're imagining her in depth. Your brain needs a super vivid something to work towards. The truth is that the brain and the body don't know the difference between imagination and what we call reality. So anything that happens in your imagination, for all intents and purposes, is real. Now in step 3, we release the old identity. So this step can be really challenging for a lot of people. It's important to remember that your old self wasn't preventing you from being a runner. It wasn't preventing you from achieving all your goals. It got you to have these new goals. You've got to thank your old identity. You've got to acknowledge what it's done for you, thank it, and then release it. Your brain is geared towards protection and safety. Letting go is about releasing the old. It's not about rejecting who you were. We're just trying to make room for what's new and step into the new stuff. So if you need a metaphorical release the same way that you might do a mental release, like you just want to see it happen, one thing that I like to do here is I like to write down, like kind of a letter to your old self, thanking her, acknowledging what she's done for you so far, how she's kept you safe. I'm really eager to step into the new version of myself. So I want to say thank you and give you the freedom to leave. Just write down, I release you. I like to handwrite this. One way is personally, I like to burn it because fire feels very purifying to me. But obviously you have to be very safe if you're burning something. But another way, a much easier way to do it is just take that paper, tear it in half, crumple it, all with the intention of I'm releasing her. I'm releasing this old version of myself. Tear it in half, crumple it up, and throw it in a trash can outside. All right. So you're not keeping it in your space anymore. It is no longer a part of you. You've thanked her, and now she's giving you the freedom to move on. Now we move into step 4. Step 4 is really like the heart of this 5-step process here. This is embodying the new identity. So if you've decided I'm a runner, it's normal to be really excited in the beginning. You have all this like momentum and you're ready to get started. You're ready to embody your new self, all that exciting stuff. But there's going to be a morning where, it's kind of rainy outside or you're a little tired. This is where embodying the identity comes in really clutch over just starting a habit. When you encounter this resistance, which you absolutely will, you will encounter resistance. You will also encounter obstacles. Very, very important to go in knowing that so you don't think everything is going to be perfect, because it will not be perfect. In fact, I have an example. I'm embodying the identity of I'm a coach. I help people with this stuff. I just recorded this entire video and it did not actually record. And I made sure it was recording, but I used a tool that was meant for short videos and not longer videos. And it was a whole thing. So I'm re-recording this video and I'm not mad about it because I know obstacles are going to get in the way. I'm expecting this. This is, of course, what's going to test you and happen in order to figure out what your resolve is, what your new identity is. And I know my identity is this person that I've created that's showing up for you today. And so that's why she's going to retape this without any issue. And it's not like I'm not closing doors. I actually have a meeting scheduled that I need to be at, but I have decided this is more of a priority than that. So I told the other person, I need to finish this and then I will be with you shortly. It just helps you reprioritize your life. When you're a runner, things are going to come up. You're not going to feel like getting up in the morning. It's raining. Or you might feel sick. When you are this runner, I am a runner. I am a person who runs. When you are this new identity, if you feel tired, it doesn't matter. You're a runner. You're still going to get up and you're going to go. If you're sick, it's okay. It's okay to rest. Resting is part of running. And you know that if you try to run when you're not feeling your best, you're going to actually end up staying sicker a lot longer. Rest is a part of being a runner. If it's raining, who cares? You have running clothes that keep you safe in the rain and keep you warm in the rain. It's no problem. You'll just put that outfit on, or you'll run on your treadmill in the house or in the gym. Whatever it is, you don't break that identity because you know who you are inside. One important thing you can do here is whenever you start to encounter resistance, whenever you don't want to show up as the person you signed up to be, you need to ask yourself, what would this version of me do today? And then you'll have your answer. You will show up for the run. You will rest if you need to. You will do what you need to do to fit that embodiment. Asking yourself that question in a specific way gets your brain to think about it with curiosity and not judge yourself. So this is not a negotiation anymore. It's more of a curiosity. What do I need today as a runner? And sometimes the answer is I need to get up and run. And sometimes the answer is I need to sleep because I'm tired and I'm sick. So whatever that answer is for you, remember, this is not performance. It's not about perfection. This is a whole new identity you're trying to rewire in your brain. So it becomes a practice. It's not a performance. You're not doing this for anyone else. You're doing it for yourself. And every practice is not going to look perfect. If you've ever played played any sports, you're practicing so that the game, when you actually go to the game, it feels real. It is real. And it's something you've rehearsed over and over and over again. And that's what that visualization exercise does. It helps prime your brain. I've already practiced this. This feels natural to me. Just going back to step 2, the visualization step, that's not a one-time event. You're going to do kind of maybe a longer extended session the first time. I personally like to write all of my visualization details down. So in case I ever forget the feeling, I can go back to it. Plus, I'm really much better at expressing myself in writing than I am in my imagination. I get kind of sidetracked. So what you can do is you can write it all down. You can even record it in your own voice, and you can like close your eyes and listen to that back or envision it for yourself once you've written it down. And it just makes it so much easier. And the first time it might take a little bit longer to get into that state of mind, but after that, it becomes very, very easy to call it back. You might only have 5 minutes for that visualization that day, but do it because it's going to get you into that practice, which then makes step 4 feel much easier. And then finally, everyone's favorite step is integration, or what a lot of people call manifestation. Manifestation might sound kind of woo-woo. I personally like the word, I connect with it. But if you don't, this is complete neuroscience. You're creating an identity, you're creating a perception of that identity for yourself. You're rooting it in a perception, a visualization, if you will. You're making certain decisions that align with that visualization and the identity you created. And then you're seeing the outcomes that are aligned then with the decisions, the perception, and the identity you created. So all of that is simply neuroscience. What do I mean by this? The first like neuroscience type of thing I talked about at some point was rewiring your brain. That's what's really happening when you're in the kind of visualization state and then in the embodying state, then you're rewiring your brain. All that practice that we've been doing, that's changing how the neurons are firing. That's also turning on the reticular activating system. It's like a filtration system that starts to recognize things that are in alignment with your new identity. So for example, I ended up having to buy a new car over Thanksgiving. There was a certain car that I wanted. I had been looking at it for a while. My reticular activating system was on, and it was looking for opportunities of how do I get this car? And I'll tell you what, it started with me seeing this car everywhere. My filtration system was working in overdrive. I was wondering, I wonder what it feels like to drive this car. I wonder what it feels like, the interior looks like. It's not like I hadn't seen this car before. I had, but my brain just wasn't tuned to it. So in the same way, when you're a runner, when you start to encounter problems, let's say you start to get shin splints, what happens is your brain starts to get curious about things. You start to ask yourself questions, and you realize when you have a problem come up, like a shin splint or something like that, your brain starts to look for solutions for that problem through the lens of your new identity. For example, you might see a new shoe that you never noticed on Amazon, despite having looked at shoes for years and years. You might start to notice a new shoe that perfectly solves your issue of shin splints. And that's how that reticular activating system, that RAS, that's how it works. It helps as a filtration system. It helps you to get through those obstacles and concerns that you have so that you can continue being the person you want to be. And finally, this is my favorite part about manifestation, that feeling of who you wanted to be now aligns with who you are and the actions that you take and the outcomes that you're getting. This is what we call alignment. It is the best feeling. It's like your nervous system breathing a sigh of relief. Like I can finally relax. You don't feel out of sorts anymore. You feel like your life is in order somehow. And it's such a good feeling. It's like your brain is just catching up to who you've decided to be, and everything just makes sense to your brain. It means less stress. You're making clearer decisions. You have a different level of tolerance for things, and you basically have a very calm baseline. So here are some of my practical tips. Remember that this is not perfection. This is not performance. This is practice. Slipping on something doesn't mean failing. It just means you missed that particular day. It's not a big deal. It doesn't mean you're not a runner anymore. It means that you recalibrate, get to your next practice. And then the third thing is you don't have to do this alone. Step 4 is a place where I personally got a coach, and I think coaching can be really valuable at any of these steps. If I can be of service to you in any way, please let me know. My information is down in the description below, and I'm here to help. Feel free to set up a free call with me so we could do what I call a vibe check to see if we would be good working together. Once you start on this journey of becoming a new version of yourself, it's life-changing. You cannot unsee it. I wish you all the best on this journey. It's such a cool experience, and please let me know if I can help.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.